My name's Brandy Saturley. I'm from North Saanich area, Victoria, BC. I paint pop realism, and there's a very graphic quality to my work, so symbolic paintings about Canada. When someone asks me when I became an artist, it's always a difficult question to answer because I think people are looking for a defined time when I went from doing what I was doing in life to becoming an artist, kind of like becoming a doctor or that kind of thing. And art is such a different thing. For a true artist, I think it's at birth. It's when you come out. It's what you're doing. It's what you're surrounded by. I truly believe that someone in your life was influential in a way that art was your only choice. So really, I became an artist when my mom began making art with me. Every day was drawing with mom, painting with mom. My grandmother was a painter. And I think my mom sort of came by it through my grandmother. While mom was pregnant with me, my grandmother passed away. Such an emotional thing took place, and then I come out and I'm making art with my mom. So I think in a way it may have been a way for her to deal with losing her mentor. And I loved doing it, and it was a way to connect with my mother, and it was my way of communicating with the world. I was a very shy, sit in the corner, draw kind of kid, and it just suited me. So my earliest memory would definitely be mom. I'm working on a landscape. It's of Princess Louisa Inlet, which is a really beautiful area of Canada. Certainly a less realistic style than I've done in a while. There's still elements of realism, but it's more form and color and abstraction. Certainly solitude is a big part of my creating. I'm outside of the city, so there's lots of greenery, lots of trees, ocean. It's so calm here, it's so quiet here. So it really allows me to relax into the work here and go inward. When I start working on landscape, I decide what colors I'm using for what portion of the piece, and I start technically. And then over a period of time, me and the work start to become one. Rather than me painting on something, I'm painting with something in some way. And I find it really interesting because when I go into the painting and I start to see the colors and then the brush sound, like everything starts to melt away to the point where all I can hear is the sound of the brush scratching on the canvas. And then I'm lost. Hours will go by. I will forget to drink water. I will forget to eat. 4 hours later, I'll come out of that and I'm like, what happened to the day? Like the sun is going down. And it is, I would say, like a meditation, because you really do allow yourself to go somewhere else where you're no longer controlling your brush in many ways. It's definitely a therapy. I think it's where I get all the stuff out. The first day that I became a full-time professional artist was the day I quit my job that was providing the money to survive. And it just happened to be July 1st, which was Canada Day. So it was a pretty celebratory day and a scary day. I'm not represented by a gallery. I'm completely self-representing, have been my whole career. I've shown in galleries where I've been paid to show the work, but I have not been represented by a commercial gallery. I like to be able to control what it is I'm doing, what it is I'm painting, how I'm representing myself. I kind of feel like nobody's going to put the amount of work in that I do. Well, in the last 13 years, there's about 425 pieces that have been created. Most of the pieces are like the size of this crate, so quite a large piece, like 3 by 4 feet. Any given painting, you're looking at 70 to 200 hours of work. So for the last 12 years, quite a few paintings. Prior to that, I couldn't even tell you. Because that was the time it wasn't really as professional, so I wasn't really counting. Now that everything is down to budgets and paint supplies and putting all the money back into the business, I pay more attention to those things than I did when I wasn't professional. I was contracted to show my work for the first time in Edmonton, and I had to come up with a title for my show. So at that point, I had about 13 paintings that were focused on Canadiana and Canadianisms. I don't know why. I mean, I was doing a lot of things on Twitter at that point, and so hashtags were definitely a big thing. CANUCK is a term that's used by many Canadians. For me, it's just a fun term. And iconic was thinking about some of the themes I was painting. So to me, there's the icons of hockey, there's the iconic Canadian flag, there were iconic figures as well. So it just seemed to fit, and it had a nice ring to it, like it was iconic CANUCK. This one, it's a painting of Steve Smith, where he scored a goal on his own team. I'm referencing actually a famous artwork, which was called The Death of Murat. So it's called Death of a Rookie. He's writing a letter, Dear Grant, apologizing. But he can't quite find the words, so he keeps on throwing the letters into this garbage bin, which it is got the Calgary Flames flames on it. And as he's been working on this apology letter, he's been discarding beers that he's had onto the floor. So, and then he has a fan with shedding a tear in the upper corner of the piece. So, Death of a Rookie. I grew up watching hockey on my dad's lap. My dad's a huge jock and sports fan, not an artist, not an art fan, not into art in any way. Having to watch hockey with Dad constantly for me was oh, we're watching hockey again, right? So I never watched it like during my teens or early 20s. And then when I went full-time with my career, at some point it turned into, well, how can I get Dad involved in my world? Like, how can I bring Dad into my artistic world, the world that I love to live in, and how can I communicate him through that medium? Because I think I always communicated better, and still do, through anything I do with my art. Like, I think it's really hard to talk about art, but I think it's really easy to show it in the work and let people see what they see. And as soon as I started painting hockey, it allowed us to have these conversations about art, but also about hockey, which is something that he really has always loved. So as these conversations developed, I think I started painting more hockey, which is so interesting to me, and then became a fan, like a real fan. I was learning, he was growing. I think that's the thing art does, is it expands your mind. It expands your perception of things for the artist and for the viewer. It's interesting because I haven't painted a format like this since I was in London. When I was in London at the Royal College of Art this summer, I was pushed to create work in a different way than I'd done in a long time. And certainly the scale I was creating there was quite large, but also on unstretched canvas, which is immediately what I wanted to do when I came home, was put up a really big canvas in my studio and go to work. So that's where this came from. The way I build the piece is I start in the beginning with sketching it on the canvas and then color blocking it out. So putting down the underlying colors for each section of the painting. And then I slowly build the layers and depths of color. So right now I would guess there's probably about 20 layers of color to get to this depth. Starting is pretty easy. It's like I have an idea, I throw it up there on the canvas, like sketch it out. The midpoint, like right now, is sort of when the flow state happens, because you're right into the work and you're fully immersed in the journey. And then there's something I call that last contemplation. Like, it'll be like you feel like you're okay, you're ready to abandon this work, you're ready to be done with it. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple days or a day, I'll pull up my orange chair, I'll sit in my orange chair, I'll contemplate what I've done and are there any finishing details that need to happen. It may be like a stroke, it may be as simple as that, but that's sort of the finishing of the process. It's kind of a ritual that started happening, so I've stuck with it. At the end of 2014, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. which was a huge shock to my system. I couldn't believe it and didn't want to know that that was true. The thing was to try and get a radical surgery done as quickly as possible. Within 2 months, my surgeon managed to slip me in, and we found a way to get my surgery right away. So I didn't really have a chance to sort of deal with the emotions of the whole experience. And I was worried about everything in life. I was worried about, like, am I gonna have to change the way I'm painting because it's uncomfortable for me to stand right now? My back is sore, my neck is sore. I just completely, I think, went underground for a few months, where it was like, how do I continue to do this? And how do I get past this huge thing in life? So I laid on the couch and I started doing small paintings every day. Like, I'd never really done small paintings. I don't think any of them are particularly great, but it was just a way of me continuing to paint in a position that I could deal with while I was trying to figure out life and how to get back to what I was doing the way I was doing it. And actually, I think in many ways was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it really changed the level of fearlessness in my life. I've always been very independent and willing to go wherever I need to go to do whatever I wanted to do, but this gave me that extra oomph as far as, well, life could end tomorrow, so what are you waiting for? It really changed many things in my life. I was always sitting when I was painting. I stand all the time now. That was when I let go of a lot of relationships from the past. Because it was like, I need to focus every bit of energy I have on this career that I've got going. And if that means letting go of some things, then I need to let go and just give everything to this. There is no tomorrow for me. It used to be everywhere all the time, but now it's here. It's right now. This one is called Canadians Gothic. This is also a reference to a famous painting by an American painter by the name of Grant Wood, who did a famous painting called American Gothic. The couple in this painting are from Manitoba. So this is just your average Canadian couple. This is a couple that worked really hard their whole lives. To me, it just spoke to everyday Canadiana, Canadian couple, Canadian culture, people, prairie people. This is the mask of Jacques Plante, who was a goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens. This is called Plante Rises. So for me, this painting is about his mark on hockey. You see his hockey socks walking away in the background. You see the mask left on the ice, much like dropping your mic at the end of a concert. He's dropped his mask. And then the Canadian flag pouring out of the mouth. All symbolisms talking about the mark he left on the game. Every year there's a goal of selling more than the year before. Every year there's a goal of getting the work into areas where it hasn't been seen before. It's finding new opportunities, finding new ways to get my work out there. So it's just about continuing to grow what it is I'm doing already. There's about 80 hours in it right now. I would say I probably have about 2 more weeks to go. Or more, depending. But I think maybe 2 weeks. You really have to get to a point where you abandon the work. It's not necessarily finished, but you kind of abandon it when you think there's enough information. I think that's finishing. It's more an abandonment. Because I think that the work, like for me, the journey is in creating the work. And once the work is done, that journey's over. So it's like, okay, I'm done this journey. I've gone on that hike. I'm done with that one. Time to move on to the next. I created this. This is me. I put every ounce of my being into this. So I really don't want to have to be anything other than what I am. I have been painting my pop Canadianisms since 2010. I'm an acclaimed Canadian visual artist, widely recognized for my evocative portrayals of Canadian culture, landscapes, people, wildlife, and icons. The paintings featured in this documentary span a decade of my painting career, with many hockey-related works created between 2010 and 2015. In the aftermath of filming this documentary in 2019, we collectively weathered a pandemic that left an indelible impact on many lives, promoting introspection and a reassessment of life's trajectories. I too experienced a profound journey during this period, finding myself hospitalized for a month due to burnout. Emerging from this challenging chapter, I have gained a renewed appreciation for the artistic legacy I have meticulously built as an independent, self-representing artist. This newfound focus paved the way for a transformative 2022 residency with Banff Centre for the Arts and Creativity, where I was awarded the Paul D. Fleck Fellowships in the Arts Endowment. Following my residency, I signed on with Willock and Sachs Gallery in Banff, who now represents my work in Alberta, Canada. In 2023, I began a month-long residency with the Cove Foundation in Newfoundland, an exclusive invitation-only program that has hosted some of Canada's most celebrated painters. I was honored to join a group of 8 international artists, including musicians, in this stellar location in Newfoundland at the easternmost point in Canada. These experiences have now expanded the accessibility of my work, which is now featured on Artsy through the James Baird Gallery, the premier marketplace for art by both emerging and established artists worldwide. I continue to live and paint in my home studio in North Saanich on Vancouver Island. I continue to represent myself alongside my dealers and still manage the day-to-day business of my career, along with painting every single day. As a visual storyteller, I remain committed to relentlessly exploring Canada and sharing the engaging stories of this journey. You can follow me on Instagram at Brandy Saturley Art, where I authentically share the day-to-day of my world. You can see more of my work on my website at brandysatterley.com.